The thought of writing a novel terrified me. He said a lot of writers that are good at math are really good storytellers because of the whole plotting things out. And that never clicked for me. I hadn't actually planned to write the novel. It was my husband that said that. I said, well, I've got this. What am I going to do? And he said, write a novel. And that threw me. I didn't quite know what that meant, but I actually had a 9 to 5, but I still needed to work. So what I did is I got up early. I made sure I was in the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. We started at 9 and I only had 2 hours. That was the 2 hours I had a day to edit, and I made sure I did that. My biggest challenge is when I'm breaking a story, my dream would be locked in a cabin for 6 weeks, no disturbances. That's what I need here, and had my book signing in Australia. And a friend came up to me and she told me how 2 years prior, her ex had died by suicide and left her and her 3 daughters. And she said she breaks down whenever her children say to her, Mummy, why did Daddy do it? Because she didn't have an answer. Now for me, I just went, oh my gosh, because her children were the same age I was when my dad died by suicide. So I was 13 when my dad did that. And I just went, and then tragically years later, I've also lost 2 brothers. So I lost another brother when I was 22 by suicide. Yep, I've had 3 deaths by suicide in my family. And then about 10 years ago, another brother. So there were 5 kids. There's now 2. There's now 3 of us, 3 kids left. So I just, honestly, that just really hit me. It really hit quite hard. A bit of, how do you talk about suicide? Like it's a subject that is so tough to talk. What do you say? And so the entire flight back from Sydney to Los Angeles, I could not stop thinking about this. And that's where I went, I need to write a book. And it literally came to me on the plane. The title came, Making Friends with Monsters. I'm not 100% sure where the title came from, but I wrote.
Hey everyone, welcome to createyouryours.in podcast, or welcome back if you're listening again. This is interview. Today we have on our show the guest that you heard in the recent story, which was of Sophie's story. You heard 1 or 2 days back. This interview released after that. So today we have with us the best-selling author, the read best choice author. She has won a lot of awards and a very good amount of reviews from people, and she is rocking in the author world. Today we have on board the storyteller that you heard in recent story of Sophie. Welcome to the show, Sandra.
Hey, AJ, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
How are things going on in LA?
Things are going well. As we were discussing earlier, we have had endless rain. It's, I don't know, a month of rain, it feels like, which is good. We need it because it's been a drought here for a very long time, but it's just unusual and not exactly prepared with umbrellas and different things like that, because it really rarely rains in LA, really. So
is this the rainy season? I guess it's springtime. What's the season?
What are we in March? So yes, we just sprung forward with daylight saving. So we're moving into spring.
Everyone. I guess this is the same thing happening in India. The weather is continuously changing. We are going through rain, but not the way that you are. Umbrella. You're talking about a lot of things of.
Yes. But apparently it's been really good for our local mountains. The mountains here in Los Angeles, very rarely are they capped, and it was really beautiful the last couple of weeks to actually see snow from Los Angeles, the mountains in the background. It's really beautiful, really, really beautiful. That's kind of rare. So that was nice.
Awesome. That's lovely to hear, but it's not the good thing that's happening. Raining in this.
No, it's just so rainy. My poor cat, she's an indoor-outdoor cat, and she will go outside and then she'll stop and look at me, and I'm like, it's not my fault, it's raining, and then she'll all miserable come back inside. So.
Got it. Awesome. So I see the upcoming book there, Making Friends with Monsters.
Thank you.
Great way to promote the book. Awesome. I love it. This is the best that I've seen. I've interviewed a lot of authors from last couple of years. This is the best thing that's happening.
I love your work. Poster. Thank you.
Yeah. I love your work. I saw the Cecilia series, the all 3 parts. Then I came to know about what happened with those series. Won a lot of awards. Also about work as a screenplay writer, as a writer, novelist,
Mm-hmm.
screenplay writer, and a lot of things that you've been doing. We are going to talk on all those topics. But first, this is the first thing that I came to in mind, like how this thing, how everything started. Because you you are now in LA, you come from Australia, you are a physiotherapist, running a successful career as a physiotherapist. That was your daily job, that was your front of presenting yourself professionally. Now, starting from there, now to becoming a writer and filmmaker, screenwriter, and then also being successful. So this is kind of like, people start it, but they don't end up successful all the time. They may be good at one thing, but they don't end up like the level that you reached. You won a lot of awards. This is not easy. You reached a milestone that everyone could dream of. This is kind of a dream, suddenly changing careers and shifting it. So I just want to know how it all
How?
started and how the journey happened.
Oh, sure, definitely. Well, writing wasn't always on the cards for me. I started off as a STEM girl, science, math, physics. I just excelled in
Okay.
that area. Whereas what we call English class,
Hmm. Hmm.
I struggled a little bit. My grammar and spelling, atrocious, very atrocious.
Okay. Okay.
So I never, even though I loved creative writing, I always got high marks on any assignments that were the creative writing because they didn't mark me down on my grammar or my spelling. But I always thought that since I'm not good in this other area, I really didn't think about doing writing as a career, but I always loved it. So, and plus the
It's just a
teachers,
hobby. It's a hobby, I
yeah,
guess.
and the teachers didn't, they saw my strength in the science and the math. So they just pushed that and
Wow.
off I went. So, I mean, in Australia, you do something called a higher school certificate. You get a score, you match that score to different degrees that are being offered at the universities.
Hmm.
I looked at my number. I could have gotten into medicine, but that
Oh,
just terrified me. That really terrified me. I did not want to have someone's life in my hands. So I just went down the list. I went,
okay. Okay.
physiotherapy. That's literally how it happened. And so I
Okay.
did that degree. And in our
Mm-hmm.
final year, recruiters came to our university. I graduated from the University of Sydney. Recruiters from America came because at that time, America was desperate for what
Mm-hmm.
they call physical therapists over here. They were
Okay.
desperate. And so we were like incentivized,
They were just
in
hiring.
grad.
They're just hiring.
Absolutely. Hiring, saying we're going to fly you over, we're going to give you a car, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to put you up with,
Oh God.
yeah, like we're going to set you up. And I just went, sign me up. So that's what happened. Literally straight out of university,
God.
off I came to America. And it was only supposed to be a 12-month stint.
Mm-hmm.
However, I used my vacation time to come back to Australia. So I'm like, well, gosh, I haven't seen much of America yet. So let me go back. And
Mm.
it was always the plan just to keep, let me see
Yeah,
more of
yeah, got it.
America.
Yeah. That
I
is
don't
dream.
know.
That's a dream.
And then it just stayed. And then I moved to Los Angeles. The writing came from lyrics, the ability to step into writing.
Mm.
Honestly, I actually dreamt of being a singer. That was the
Oh,
dream, dream that you have was
yeah. Got it.
singing.
Got it. Got it.
And that's how I met my husband. I put a notice up on
Wow.
UCLA that I was a singer-songwriter, total liar,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a singer-songwriter, looking for a guitarist, keyboardist. And
Okay.
my husband was studying film score at
Mm-hmm.
UCLA. So he,
Mm-hmm.
pulled my number down from the little notice board.
Got it.
And I had poetry, I guess, is the most you could call what I had. They weren't really
Mm.
lyrics. I didn't quite know how to formulate lyrics, but I'd written
Oh.
poetry. But he liked my poetry, like he liked the emotion of it, and he sort of taught me how to change that into more lyrics that would fit a song. So we
Mm-hmm.
recorded an album. I actually played. I had a band for about a year, played around LA, but it wasn't. I liked it a lot, but I'm not a natural singer. I'm really not. But it was the writing that I really liked, and so
Okay.
I guess from there I started taking more classes at UCLA, and it
Mm-hmm.
was one instructor who said something that really changed everything for me. He said, a lot of writers that are good at math are really good storytellers because of the whole plotting things out. And that
Oh
never clicked for me. I
God.
always thought writing required English, grammar, that aspect. And the fact that he opened up that door and said that there's
Maths.
a correlation between it, it's
Mm.
almost like it gave me the permission to start writing. And the reason I went into screenplays is because The thought of writing a novel terrified me, because I knew that if there was a house, I might need to describe the house. Whereas a screenplay, guess what? Exterior house, day. That's all you
Okay,
have to
okay,
write. And then the set designer
okay.
comes in, and the set designer chooses,
That's that.
what does the
That's
house look
the
like?
got it, got it.
Yes. And so that was really screenplays, purely
Okay,
because it
got
was
it,
a fear of having to write a lot of
got it.
prose. And then from there, my husband decided that he wanted to do a ballet.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, because ballets actually have a story. The writer's called a librettist. And that's how a ballet is written. Even though there's no words or anything like that in the ballet, there is a story that the composer then uses to give the ebb and flow of the emotion in the music. So I wrote the ballet story. Kurt got busy with other film projects.
Got it.
And I was literally left with, I think, 90 pages of this ballet story. That
Okay.
became Cecilia. Because when
Oh,
that was the thing, when he
okay.
said, my ballet story was only supposed to be like 9 pages. That's how long a ballet story is. But every time I
Right.
wrote stuff and handed it to him, he kept saying, that's
Mhm.
amazing, keep writing. And that's how I ended up with 90 pages.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. This
So,
this is coming. This is coming in a very good way. I'm going to ask it afterwards. Just hold
okay.
on that thought. Okay. I came to. Okay, this is an interesting story. So,
Okay.
got it, got it. How you started that the story. You
Yeah.
came to LA as a physiotherapist, and then things happened, clicked on.
Yeah,
You started as a lyricist.
organically.
Yeah, it clicked. It was very natural. Not
Yep.
an okay. So what you thought of becoming a singer, that was the thought that you wanted to be. This happened very naturally. So this kind of thing, like your dream was to be a singer, that didn't happen. But this
Yes.
this was like, okay, just try it on. Okay, first lyricist, then screenplay, which is very simple, not my job. It's the set designer who's going to do this.
Everyone else is
And
going to fill out the color.
guy. Interesting story. So
Yes.
I'm going to come on that thought, but hold on, we don't need one thing in one single question.
Sure.
So now I'm going to jump on. You wrote and directed a short animation film, which is by name Adventure of Gilbert, the Goofball, which was
Yes.
runner-up for Best Animation at the Action on Film Festival. Can you share with us some of the challenges you faced in writing and directing The Adventure of Gilbert, the
Yeah,
Goofball?
what a crazy little film that was. That was done for a film festival where they give a key word. And can you guess what the key word was? It was
What?
bagel. That was the key word, bagel. So whatever you
Oh,
did needed to involve a bagel. And
wait.
honestly, at the time, my
Wow.
husband was had a golf net in our backyard, and I looked at the
Mhm.
bagel and I looked at all the golf balls sitting in the backyard, and I put 2 and 2 together, and I thought a golf ball would love to sit inside a bagel, and I just wrote this silly little story, honestly.
God.
But oh gosh, the challenges there
And
were
like it's
there were
animation,
many.
it's your job is
It's
just writing, it's directing, writing, and it's animation. So how hard was it?
it's yeah, well, it's puppet. It was puppet animation that I did, and
Okay.
yes, there were the challenges. Oh gosh, honestly, we just watched the
You
little
don't
making
know.
of.
Okay.
I just don't know how we got through it, because we really didn't know what we were doing. I mean, even the
Okay.
opening where I've got graphics that move, and my husband said to me, he goes, "How did you do that?" I said, "Oh, I did it in After Effects, but don't ask me how." Like it's one of
Oh.
those things when you're driven, you just figure it
Ah.
out. I just
Yeah.
figured out how to do this graphic, right? Written graphics, but I just don't know how I did it, honestly. But there were a
It
lot of
just happened. It
challenges,
just happened.
because we had to do it indoors, and at the time we just had a very small. We were in our house, but the living room was very small, and the table that we had to put it on was massive, so there was not a lot of room to move around and do things. The plant that we used in it was a real kumquat. We had a kumquat tree outside, and it was a real kumquat.
Mhm.
And so little things like that, we
Got
needed to make sure the branch didn't die, like the leaves needed to stay consistent. I think it took us
Mhm.
maybe 3 days to shoot. I honestly can't remember. But just realizing how exhausting shooting is. And I think
Yeah.
that made me
Got
realize,
it.
that was another thing, made me realize I don't think I want to be on set. There
Oh.
was so many moving parts. Again, it came
Yeah.
back to, I really liked the writing portion of it. And everything else was more, I just wanted to know for myself what it was like to be in that role. And I
Mm.
realized it wasn't a love. Directing wasn't a love.
Mm.
Producing, wasn't a love. I can do it, but and it really just
Yeah.
helped hone. This is what I love.
You can
I
just go
love
on
writing.
with it.
With the writing, yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can just go on for a very long time. Just no one can stop you there. Even you.
exactly,
That is a
yes,
yeah.
yes,
That's the thing with it. Got it. Got it. Now I'm going to jump on the multi-award winner, the Cecilia series that we were talking about. But now tell me how it happened, and also what was the rewarding experience that you got from working on the Cecilia series, which is also readers' favorite, won multi awards. But what was your 1 or 2 or 3 rewarding experience while working on the series?
sure. So getting back to then the fact that, yes, I'd written the ballet story, which was 90 pages.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't actually planned to write the novel. It was my husband that said that. I said, well, I've got this. What am I going to do? And he said, write a novel. And that threw me. I didn't quite know what that meant, but I did it. I thought about it and went, well, I've got a lot of work here. And so I wrote the novel, and I had to write it. There's a term called a page one rewrite. A page one
Okay.
rewrite literally means you go back to page one and you rewrite. I had to do 3. I did 3 page one rewrites on it
Oh,
because I didn't know what I was doing back then. I didn't
yeah.
really fully understand point of view. Point of view is
Mm-hmm.
huge. You need to understand whose character, what point of view character you're in, and do you
Okay.
stay in it, or are you going to change point of view every chapter? But I was chopping and changing.
So
But
you're
what I
just
made,
going with the flow.
yeah, I was just going with the flow. I didn't quite
Just
know
the
what I was
things
doing.
happening, you were just writing. That's
I was
that's
just
all
writing,
happened.
and I had what's called jumping heads, and you don't
Okay.
realize, but it's very difficult for the reader. If the point of view changes,
Oh
it's
God.
the head keeps jumping, and the reader gets very disoriented because they're
God.
just comfortable being in this point of view. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, hang on, whose head am I
What
now
happened?
in? Whose eyes am I seeing this action coming through?
Oh God.
So yes, that was a learning for me, and
Mm.
I learned that. I made sure that I hired a professional editor and a
Mhm.
proofreader, and that was working with these
That was it.
professionals. It was my mini, what is it called, that the see it creative writing degree. That I didn't do it.
Mhm.
I didn't do a writing degree, but I got my
Got it.
writing degree by doing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the
Got to get the
faster,
right
cheaper way to
people.
do it. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I just learnt by doing and getting the notes from my editor and going, oh, and then just working the notes, just
Yeah.
rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. And so that was quite shocking. I'm not going to lie. For my first novel, where literally I did not know what I was doing, that I hadn't planned to write a novel, to win these
Mhm.
awards was really quite terrific. And I think while you didn't ask me this question, you wanted to know what was the best part. I do want to tell you what the sad part was. COVID then came on. COVID
Oh,
started, and there was this
yeah.
one award that I was up for, and we were so excited to go up to Washington. And I was so
Mhm.
excited because that was the one part we loved doing. We finally got to see America, going off to these little places that were hosting these awards. And they had to, I think it was April, and then
Definitely.
we went into lockdown. And so they pushed it, and they said hopefully we could do it in September. But yeah, it ultimately just happened on the internet.
Oh,
And that really, I was really
um,
bummed about that. I was really bummed that then
yeah.
all that little award thing all stopped because
Yeah.
COVID shut everything down. But
COVID was the thing.
one of the brilliant things, there were many, many fun things, like winning the awards was just shocking and
Mhm.
fun. But one thing that really, where all authors, like, it's your fans, right? Your fans are what you live
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
And one of my friends sent me a note that I think either her little cousin or someone she knew, this 12-year-old girl who had read Cecilia, she wanted to become a judge in a writing competition. And in order to become a judge, she needed to write a little essay to say why and what's inspired her to become a judge. And she said she read Cecilia. She read my book, Cecilia, the
Wow,
Last
that
Courageous,
is
and
awesome.
that's what inspired her to want to know more about story and to become a judge for this competition. That really blew me away. It's things like that. It's these little things that make it all worth it. We go, oh my gosh,
Oh God,
that's so cool.
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a
Yeah,
dream kind of thing.
yeah, exactly.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So now, how did it feel to win multiple awards for Cecilia, the last Crowlire tire, including the
Quality,
Author Academy
quality.
Award? Just hold
Yes.
on. I'm just taking the thing, including the Author Academy Award and the Dante Rossetti Award. How does it feel?
Look, it feels good. It really does. I because it gives you validation. We're all, creators, we're all so insecure. It's always not, it's like, oh, do people like this? To actually win the awards, it's fun, especially when there is an award ceremony, and the Author Academy Awards there was. And so it really literally was one of these moments where you're sitting there and you're at a table and everyone's dressed up and they read out all the nominees, and then you hear your name. And you do have this moment of, did they just say my name? So yes, it's fun. It's
Got it.
exciting.
That is like one thing that you talked about is the validation, which is very important for creative people, and that's where they actually do stuff that one day they get recognized for their work. You got a lot of awards, and that's very fulfilling moment. That only motivates you, when you're down in some time, some way. That these things will motivate you for a very long period. Like, okay, you want this, so you can do it. Because writers go through a lot of stuff because they think a lot, they overthink a lot, and that's where this kind of thing. And you are also a physiotherapist, so you're very good to deal with it. But a lot
Legally, we're not allowed to actually call me that anymore.
Oh,
I'm not licensed anymore. I gave all that up. So a former, we can call me a former physical therapist. Yes.
Okay, so you lose the license.
I chose not to keep it going. Yeah. In order to keep it going, you just got to pay a fee. And then there were some continuing education that you needed to do. But honestly, when I made the decision, I didn't want the safety net. I didn't. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And I've noticed that there's something about, if you have a safety net, sometimes you don't push yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you sort of got this fallback. And I just did not want to have that safety net to go back to. So
Got it. That's you jumped all in.
I jumped all in. Yes, all in.
Yeah. Like from the cliff, no matter what happens, I'm going to jump. That is the attitude that you got.
Yeah.
So now, I came up with this award thing is because now I came to know about your story. At this moment, you told like you went all in. So I'm just going to talk about the routine as a writer.
Yes.
How what's your writing routine, and how has it changed as a beginner to now a award-winning best-selling author? So can you see the difference? Please share.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest part is I will do plotting now. Cecilia, Cecilia was plotted. I'm not going to lie, it was plotted in that I was given 5 acts, like 5 lines. That was sort of about it. Well, no, I guess what I should say is Cecilia helped me understand. When I wrote screenplays, I didn't plot. It was writing novels that made me realize how important plotting and outlining were, because Cecilia was plotted. But what I've learned now, the biggest thing I've learned is not to start writing until I've really figured out the point of view character, or how I'm going to tell the point of view. I've got a big magical series that I've plotted out. I know on my backstory. I know on my history. It's the one I'm going to write, called The Isles of Tarimdra. But I've been struggling about figuring out how I'm going to tell the story regarding point of view. And I think younger me, less experienced me, would have probably just jumped in and said, I've just got to start writing the story. But I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm not going to do that to myself. And I'm giving myself the freedom to let it stew for a little while instead of stressing out. To figure out the point of view. So at the moment, I'm on a bit of a hiatus from writing because I'm in marketing mode at the moment, and it's really it takes up so much time with making friends with monsters. But when I am writing, I have a very strict routine, and my routine I learned from Stephen King by reading his book on writing, and I really loved his philosophy. His philosophy said, give yourself a goal of how many words you want to write a day, and if it's 500, 1,000, I give myself anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000. Depending on, usually when I'm starting off, I'm a little bit less. I might start off at 1,000, but when I'm going, I tend to be able to say, okay, I'm going to write 2,000 words a day. And if I get that done in 4 hours, guess what? The rest of the day is mine, and I don't feel guilty for it. But if I'm up at 7 in the morning to 7 at night, 10 at night to get those, that's the trade-off. But that's what I prefer to do than saying I'm going to write for 8 hours a day, because I don't think that's a tangible goal.
Got it.
For me,
just getting things covered. That's the main goal. Yes, not the time.
Just having the number.
Get number thing. What I do. So you got it, the number thing, from the author Stephen King, from his writing book. was this the thing at the starting phase, or you got it developed after Cecilia? How, when the whole thing number thing happened?
That happened when I decided to write Cecilia. Before I wrote Cecilia, I probably read about 5 different books about how to write a
Okay.
novel. And
Okay.
everyone kept saying, read Stephen King's On Writing. That came up all
Mm,
the time. And the other
mm,
thing that that book gave me was another permission that made me feel comfortable writing. Because what Stephen King says is understand your toolbox. And
yeah.
whatever your toolbox is, that's what you write to. And believe it or not, that gave me a lot of freedom because
Mm,
I'm not a neurosurgeon, meaning I'm not a literary expert. I'm not,
yeah.
I know that I'm not going to be writing literary prose,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to write to the level. And young adult is a really comfortable genre for me.
Mm,
I like that genre. And so I really liked that philosophy of just know your toolbox. You don't have to be
yeah.
brilliant at grammar. You really don't. That's what your proofreaders are for. That's what your editors are
Yeah.
for. You hire people to fix all that. And so I just write to the level of my toolbox, understanding that I won't ever be a Pulitzer Prize winner or anything like that. And that's fine. That's totally fine.
Guy, know your toolbox. That's one thing I learned.
Yes, yes,
Write that
yes.
this note. Know your toolbox. That is very
Mm-hmm.
important. And also, one thing I came up with, the same thing that you came up with routine now, which is like 20,000 words in 4 hours, and when you get it done, rest of the day is yours.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel the same way with the years of working in this whole thing. But one thing, here's my opinion, and I also want to know your opinion. I think like we have to go through that all wildness in the initial phase. Like you wrote 5 books before you wrote Cecilia, which means you came up to the routine after you went through the uh, different kind of routine in initial phase. You, what I think is you have to go through those routines and then thinking that okay, this is not good now for me at this moment. I have to change. But initially, we need those routines. You have to go through things, just take the step, and then at a place, at a point of our career in the working phase, we have to come up with more learnings from what happened in last few years or few work
It's
projects,
very true.
and then come up with more stronger, more which is like a work ethic and work schedule that will only give us more productivity. That is my thing. Like you have to go through, you can't just come up with 4 hours 20,000 words on your first project.
Oh,
You
no,
have to go through, so
2,000
so
words.
yeah.
2,000.
Okay, okay, I mean,
20,000 would be
I'm just,
amazing.
I'm just like I'm just putting a number.
Oh, yes.
That is my point of like today what I
Mm.
have, the work schedule and things I have. There was no possibility that this happened 2 years back, but I just made sure that it happened, and it happened 2 years afterwards. So I just want to know, what is your thought? Like, should a new writer should go with this point of view, like okay, you have to do 2000, or they just go with it and then figure their stuff out? What's your thought?
Um, Look, because the other thing is there are a lot of people that have constraints where they literally only have 2 hours a day. And that even happened
Yeah.
to me while I was writing Cecilia. Actually, I'd finished writing, I was in the editing phase. I got a gig working on a documentary series. And so
Mm,
I actually had a 9 to 5, but I still needed to work. So what I did is I got up early. I made sure I was in the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. We
correct.
started at 9, and I only had 2 hours. That was the 2 hours I had a day to edit, and I made sure I did that. So
Oh,
and editing is different. Editing is different to writing, so you can't really give yourself
yes.
a goal of how many words. However, if I was still having to write, I would have just said that's the only time slot I've got. So for
Oh.
people that are limited because they have a full-time gig, then
Mhm.
the goal of writing words might not be a good
That,
goal
yeah.
for them. It literally might just be 2 hours. I'm going to
Yeah.
focus for 2 hours. But I still
Yeah.
would say try and give yourself a reasonable goal of 100 words, 200 or 300 words for that two
That's
hours because you can procrastinate. And that's the thing. That's why I like the solid goals of getting words down, because there's many
right.
ways we can procrastinate as writers. many,
Yeah.
many ways. And that's not good. They're bad
Got it.
habits, the
Got it. Got it.
procrastination ones.
Thank you for sharing your point of view. Like this is the one thing that I just like in, if people don't have it, they'll just complain like, okay, I can't do 3,000, 2,000 words, and this is not real for me at this moment. But yeah, you can come up with this with time. You have to just go all in the initial days, phase, years, and then you'll definitely come up with that whole routine, and that will be excellent routine. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing your routine, author. Now, as someone who has written both screenplays and novels, can you tell us about the differences in the writing process of these two mediums?
biggest thing with screenplays is they're dialogue heavy for the most part. There's a lot of dialogue. Whereas novels, you're definitely writing a lot more prose. So you've got to be very careful if you're in a novel frame of mind, not to be too wordy when you're writing a screenplay. And novelists, you can always tell. For my day gig, I've got a part-time job working at a film production company, and I read a lot of scripts, and you can always tell a script that's been written by a novelist because they're so heavy in the prose, they're heavy in the action area, and it makes it a very dense read, dense read. And it's like, no. So it's the balancing off of you don't need a lot of description in a novel. It's got to be clear and to the point description. In a screenplay, whereas in a novel, sure, you've got more breathing room to describe things. When I wrote Cecilia, I wrote it in third person past tense. I remember I was writing a screenplay at the same time as I was writing Cecilia, the novel, and my brain was having a really tough time. Every time I went to the screenplay, I had to remember to be in present tense. It's not easy. When your brain's in one tense, it wants to just stay in that tense, and that's a challenge.
It's definitely like coming back. It's coming back for novel writers. Okay, so what I get from your whole thing is screenplay people keep things simple. It's not that too much heavy and hard. They just write, okay, get in like 4-year-old or 8-year-old would understand. They just keep things simple, understandable. Okay, got it. So then next people would move on. Whereas when novelists write screenplay, they come up with their own research, their whole experience with words and the vocabulary they have, and then they start putting words which would be very fitting, which is necessary. But you said like we need a balance. We need a balance between both of it. It should not be that too easy and not that too tense. It should be in the between where it will fit and make it the best.
One thing I definitely want to preface is both mediums need research and plotting, as far as I'm concerned. Just because a screenplay is only usually anywhere from 90 to 120 pages, and a book's more like 300 pages or more, they both need the same amount of research. People think that you can just start writing a screenplay, and you can always tell when a screenplay is not well thought out. So there's still a lot of heavy lifting that needs to happen at the beginning for both mediums.
For both, everything, both are at serious ends when it comes to research and all, and then you can figure it out how things will roll. Now here's one thing, like how many years you've been writing things? Like I guess 10. How many?
Yes.
10 years.
No, a little bit more than that. I think with screenplays, around 2006. 2006 was when. Yeah, around there was when I probably first
It's like
started.
15. It's over 16, 15 years plus. 15 years plus.
Yeah, dabbling with the screenplays and everything. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So in all this 15 plus of experience, what are the challenges that you faced as a writer, author, screenplay writer, and what you do? What is your like? Okay, there's a process of overcoming things. So what's your process of overcoming these challenges?
My biggest challenge is when I'm breaking a story, my dream would be locked in a cabin for 6 weeks, no disturbances. Like that's what I need. And I had that dream for a little bit during COVID. I had to go back to Australia, and we had forced quarantine in Sydney. So I was in a hotel for 2 weeks. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to clean. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner was delivered. And it was amazing. And that's literally how I kicked out, during COVID, I kicked out book 2 and book 3 of the Cecilia series. And it really helped being locked in a hotel for 2 weeks.
Australia was very strict. Was very strict with COVID.
It was really awful. Yeah, really awful. But honestly, that most writers will tell you they just want time to write. And that would be my dream, is just let me break the story. Once the story's broken, and meaning I've sort of got the first draft, really rough draft out, then it's fine. But I just want to stay in the world, and I want to be immersed in the world and just get it done.
So you do it now also, or has it changed? Like, do you do it now?
Do I
The
lock
same
myself
thing?
in a do I
Yeah,
lock myself in a cabin? No,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
I keep telling my husband I want to.
Okay,
No, no.
okay,
I've still
okay,
got my
okay.
part-time job and everything like that, and
Yeah. I
no,
mean, when you come up with any
Mm,
specific idea, like the magical series that you talked about
uh-huh.
a couple of minutes ago, uh, did you do the same thing, or what did you do with it?
No, but I would certainly love to. Um,
Okay.
I know that's one of my challenges for actually getting going with the writing. Well,
Yeah.
because I've got Making Friends with Monsters that I'm marketing at the moment. It's just taking up a
Mm,
lot of time.
a lot of time.
But I'm hoping in about a month when the marketing settles down that I can get into writing. And yes, would I love to lock myself away in a cabin for a month? I would love to, but it won't
Awesome.
happen. I
Okay.
will go back to my strict
Mm,
routine of
mhm.
giving myself a goal of saying I'm going to write 1,000 words a day
Got it.
and build up to hopefully 2,000 words a day to get that done.
Awesome, awesome. Love to hear that. I love this passion, so I also get motivated. People like you motivate me every single day, and then I can go on my craft and make it more better. So this is motivation for me, locking inside the room. Okay, so now we focus on the book that you're coming up with. I guess
Yes.
this interview goes out when the book is released, for sure. I guess it's 8th April. When is the release?
The book itself releases on the 4th of April.
4th
That's
of
when it's
April.
available. It's available
Okay.
for pre-purchase now, but the actual buy and they'll get shipped on the 4th. The
Yeah.
release party that I'm having in Los Angeles is on the 15th. The
Got it.
actual
Got it.
launch event
Launch
at the
event. I saw
bookstore.
it on your website. It's on
Yeah, for
15th, so
people that
that's
want to
why I
give
confirmed.
signatures and things like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Just share me some photos and pictures. I'd be happy to share it on my social media
Oh, wonderful.
uh,
Okay, we'll do.
when it happens on 15th. So now we are talking about the book which is going to release, and it is already released when the interview is out, which is you're seeing on the backside, Making Friends with Monsters. So please tell us, like, yeah, there you go. And it is going to release on 4th of April. If you're watching it, I'm sure you're watching it after 4th of April, so it is released. Go check it now on Amazon and on her website. Everything is mentioned in the descriptions, and you can check out and go and grab the copy. So we are now going to talk on your newly released Making Friends with Monster. Please tell us about the book.
That is definitely a step away from my fantasy series.
Yeah, it
There's a
totally
saying
is.
in the writing world where writers find a story, but this is a case of the story finding me. I didn't look for this story, it came to me. So I was back
Oh.
in Australia.
Mhm.
Cecilia released in America, well, worldwide,
Okay.
September 2017. And I think it
Mhm.
was around November, I went back to Australia and had my book signing in Australia. And a friend came up to me and she told me how 2 years prior, her ex had died by suicide and left her and her 3 daughters.
Okay.
And she said the toughest thing, she said she could handle all of it. I mean, it was horrible,
Yeah,
absolutely horrible.
it's
But
all.
she said she breaks down whenever her children say to her, "Mummy, why did Daddy do it?" Because she didn't have an answer. Now, for me, I just went, "Oh my gosh," because
This is.
her children were the same age I was when my dad died by suicide. So I was
Oh, okay.
13 when my dad did
Yeah.
that. And I just went, and then tragically, years later, I've also lost two brothers. So I lost another brother
By,
when I was 22 by
by
suicide.
suicide.
Yep, I've had 3 deaths by suicide in my family. And then about 10 years ago, another brother. So there were 5 kids. There's now two. There's now 3 of us, 3 kids left. So I just honestly, that just really hit me. It really hit quite hard because I
This is
understood.
in a story.
Yeah, I understood that thing of how do you talk about suicide? Like it's a subject that is so tough to talk. What do you say? And so the entire flight back from Sydney to Los Angeles, I could not stop thinking about this. And
This
that's
is,
where
yeah.
I went, I need to write a book. And it literally came to me on the plane. The title came, Making Friends with Monsters. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure where the title came from, but I wrote that book. And actually, the order of how the books were written, Cecilia book 1, The Last Quality was written
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Mhm.
Making Friends with Monsters was actually written next. And then I
Okay.
put it on the back burner because I needed to get out book 2 and book 3 of Cecilia. So then I wrote
So you
those.
stopped.
Yeah, wrote those, published those, and then went back to Making Friends with Monsters and got it going. Because I just knew I needed to get the trilogy done. I needed it done and finished before I could focus on this book. And
Got it.
yes, so it's a step away from the fantasy. There's a little bit of deep imagination because our young character Sam,
Yeah.
he doesn't see monsters. That people do ask me, they're like, is he visually seeing monsters in people? No, he doesn't visually see monsters. It's just his imagination. It's his interpretation of when he looks at his older brother, who has become distant and moody, and he used to be Sam's best friend, and now Ben is just, angry and not talking to anyone. He sees a monster in his older brother. That's how he describes it. And his plan is to figure out everything he can about this monster because he wants to help his older brother. But for Sam, he doesn't fully understand these monsters until he gets one of his own. He has a really tragic accident that leaves him disabled, and that brings out his own monster. And that's how the reader really starts to go through this journey with Sam, because they see how this innocent kid who was, just a great kid, a good kid, starts to spiral down and become moody, angry, distant to his little sister, distant to his parents, pushing people away, causing problems at school, getting into fights. And so that's sort of what this story is all about. And honestly, I've had a lot of people, I'm getting a lot of great reviews from it.
I saw it. It's 5-star from a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been really good. And I did have some people ask, what books did you read or what research did you do for this? And I said,
like,
me.
You got me shocked. Like I am, man. Like,
experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. I literally, we're talking, and I'm thinking like how you dealt with your father's suicide and how your brother's. I was completely thinking. I was in that zone. I have a personal question here, and I think it might help someone who will watch it. Uh, uh, how you dealt with when your father's suicide happened, and
Yeah.
like a little girl. I don't know how old were you, but
I was
how did you tell
13.
it? Like
I was
14,
13. Yeah, I
13.
was
So
13, yeah.
how a teenager like you dealt with these things? Like
It's,
what? How you overcome?
it's,
Like is
I know how. I was the baby of the family, so there were 5 kids. So
okay? You were
the
the
thing, the little
youngest.
one, look at
Okay.
everyone else of how they're reacting. You sort of take your cues from your older brothers and sisters, and honestly, silence was pretty much how we dealt with it. It's kind of weird, looking back now, but we really didn't talk about our emotions. So what I learned was I misplaced my emotions. I was a very angry teenager, and I didn't know it at the time, but when you're an adult looking back, you start to see, oh, it was related because of that. I had all these other
Yeah.
emotions that I did not want to deal with. I did not want to deal with sadness. I didn't want to deal with grieving. It was so much easier to just be angry and to just be angry at the world. But I know now it was because I had unresolved emotional issues that as a kid I didn't know how to deal with. And that's what I want my book, I'm putting Sam through all that. Sam's sort of going through this whole thing, and because it's from a
Sam is you,
12-year-old's
I
point,
guess.
it's from this innocent 12-year-old's point of view. I'm wanting it to be more relatable and not this heavy down kind of story. It's not it. Yes, I talk about tough topics. How can you not? When you're talking about suicide, there are tough topics, and family dysfunction. There is tough topics, but you got this kid who's got a little bit of wit that still looks at the world in a very sort of unique, interesting way, and that sort of helps soften the blow of the themes.
Got it.
And Sam realizes that he's also in denial about all his emotions. He's in denial, and
Got it. Okay, calm down. Okay, no. So here's the one last thing about the book. What message do you hope readers will take away from Sam's journey in making friends with monsters? Like any one message that you
the big thing is, honestly, everyone, it's okay to have emotions. I think that's the thing. We're always told boys are told boys don't cry. Men are told suck it up, that whole thing, or women are told hysterical. We're given all these labels. And the learning is it's okay to have emotions, and don't be annoyed at yourself because you're anxious, or don't be annoyed at yourself because you're a bit shy. Don't feel like you have to be something that you're not. Be aware of the emotions that you've got, but don't let them define you. The problem becomes, like, it's okay to be angry. There's nothing wrong to respond to something in an angry emotion, but you need to be aware of it, because when that emotion takes over and takes hold, that's when it becomes problematic. And
That's dangerous.
yeah, so that's kind of my big take home, because if you can understand your own emotions, guess what? You can understand other people a lot easier. And other people and their emotions don't stress you out as much, because you're able to just go, oh, you know what I mean? You don't internalize it as much. You're able to understand that person better and give them the space that they need to go through their emotion. So
Yeah.
that's my big take
Thank
home.
you so much for sharing. This is really a personal thing that happened to you, and not with just a father, two brothers also. So that's a very deep
Yes.
pain, and you are
Yes.
coming up like a hero to save the world with this message. You can, if anyone can stop it, this book has done its job. Any one single person can change their point of view and change the whole thing.
Yes. That's what I say.
Yeah,
There's like one life that gets saved. You know what I mean? It's
just by
sure.
reading the book.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
book has done its job. Yes.
It's all young adult thing. In your opinion, why is it important to talk about and address mental health issue, especially for young adults?
Oh gosh. I mean, the young adults, I remember as a teenager, young adults have big emotions. There's hormones,
Yeah, yeah.
there's, peer pressure, and now there's social media, and the
Mm.
emotions are big.
Attention
And
thing.
yeah, so it's so I would have loved to have been able to understand my emotions a lot more as a kid or as a teenager, but no one really talked to me about that. I didn't know anything about it. So I just feel it's really important, the younger you can start to understand your emotions,
Hmm.
then hopefully the hope is that less likely you're going to internalize a lot of stuff. Because once you start internalizing things, that's when stress starts to happen. That's when
Yeah.
you really start to get down on yourself. But if you're able to just go, okay, I'm angry at the moment, I'm going to live with that anger, and then I'm going to acknowledge that I was angry. It just, I don't know, for me at least, it just takes a lot of pressure off myself. That yeah, I'm not necessarily answering that question, but it's
No, I
definitely.
get it. I get it. I
Oh,
get it.
here's the
Your
big
book is
things.
answering that question for sure. Your book is answering
The
that question.
the latest data that's come out, I think it's with the CDC. Suicide is the number 2 reason for deaths between the ages of 10 and it's either 10 and 14 or 10 and 19. It's devastating that it goes
Oh,
that low at the age of 10. 10-year-olds are dying by
sixth
suicide.
grade, I guess,
And
sixth or fifth grade.
that's just crazy.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
really, really sad. Stuff like that just breaks my heart that kids are having that much stress. You shouldn't be having stress as a kid, you know what I mean? You should be having fun.
Yeah, it's too much attention arbitrage happening for kids that might
yeah,
put them insecure, and then insecurity leads to a lot of internal thoughts, which may
yeah,
lead to their own character judgment, and then they feel lowered. That's where I guess things happen for them.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now we went through a lot of serious session here from last
We
15-20.
did.
This was too serious. I didn't know that this was very personal book for you. Your brothers and father, whole thing. I had no idea, especially. So now we just keep the mood light here for next few minutes. We are coming on to the end of this interview. uh, a lot of new writers are looking up to you. You are going to have a launch event. A lot of writers, aspiring writers, people who are just looking to write things down, looking for someone's advice who has done it better, like you, at the highest stage, won the best awards, the desirable awards that anyone would want to. So at this particular stage, you, like 15-20 years of experience, regularly writing a lot of books, novels, screenplay. You are like, your whole day is scheduled in the field of writing. You're writing movies, reading scripts, everything is happening related to writing. So what advice you would like to give, like people are looking for from an award-winning author, an author who has won a lot of awards, and they're like, now, people always look for a quick hack. That's the one thing. Okay, can I get it? Okay, what she's saying, okay, tell me that. But also, I just want to know, hey, what's your hack when it comes to advice to aspiring writer? What should they do? What's your advice?
Sure. First thing is, just don't let fear stop you. Be brave. Be brave. And then the next thing that stops writers is the fear of the blank page. They'll look at the blank page, and I think every writer thinks that I've got to start my story with the perfect sentence. No, you don't. No, you don't. Writing is rewriting. Just be brave and write the first thing that comes into your mind. Just write it. Just write it, because your first words might not be your first chapter. Who cares? And I think that's if young writers can just get over the fact that what they're first putting down on paper is not going to be the final draft at all. You just got to put something down on paper.
Just write.
That's it. I know there is no other hack. There is no other special magic wand. And just be brave and just write. I know that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
There's not a lot of words of wisdom otherwise.
Yeah. So to all the aspiring writers, these things that she said has been said by authors from 100 years ago. These are the same things
It's the
every
same thing.
author is saying every single time, every single day. Go check out Instagram, Pinterest, or Facebook, or any Google quote. These are the same thing that she's saying. It's just you have to go. Just one thing, don't be afraid of what is going to happen. Just go and write it down, and then things will happen automatically. But you have to just go with it. So these are the same things. It's not so if she has won award and she has got to a place from a physiotherapist to a award-winning author. Now she's at the topmost level where she's working on screenplay, movies, animation, all things. And if she can say the same thing, that it's just normal, it's just basic, then you got the hack. That is the hack. This is the simple hack.
Yes.
This is the hack. This is the hack you're looking for. It's simple from people from 1,000 years or 100 years before to now 2023. It's the same. Just go with it. So that's, you got your hack. Okay.
Yes.
So lastly, just tell us where people can connect with you on social media, Instagram, Facebook, website, anything. Please share.
Yes, everything. I keep it simple. Everything is all S for Sandra, L for my middle initial Louise, Rostirolla. So it's all SL Rostirolla. Website, www.slrostirolla. And my handle for Insta, TikTok, Facebook, what else is there? Twitter, LinkedIn is all at SL Rostirolla. So
SL Rostirolla.
I kept it simple.
Got it. Yes. Very, very, very simple. Easy to find out. Also, if she has said it now, you will also get the links in the description, in the show notes of this particular episode. So don't worry, it's not going anywhere. You can go check out the description, check about the guest info, and you'll find a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, website, everything. Okay. So thank you so much, author Sandra L. Rostirolla, coming on the show, saying yes to me. We got a small chat, and then you said yes. So this was very awesome to have you on board. I hope you enjoyed being on the show. And what was your experience?
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I'm just thinking how quick this was. Facebook, right? Connecting on Facebook less than a week ago. And I thank you so much for reaching out. That was really nice of you to do. Perfect timing. I mean,
this is
this way, promoting my book. So that was absolutely perfect timing. And this was really, really comfortable. I had a really enjoyable time. I loved your questions. They were very insightful. And the fact that you even brought up The Adventures of Gilbert the Goofball, with my little animation that I did such a long time ago. That I was like, he did his research. No, you did your research. You did it. So it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm a big fan of movie, animation, stories, authors. I've been working with them, still working with them. So I am happy that you loved it. So to all the listeners, make sure go check out the description. Make sure you go and check out author's book, author Sandra L. Rostirolla, her social media. Go follow her on social media. Check her Instagram. Follow her. Message her how you like this interview. Also, go check out this book that you're seeing on the background, Making Friends with Monster. It's out now. Go check on Amazon. You can read it on Amazon Kindle. Where will this be available? Amazon Kindle, any other platforms?
Oh, a lot of platforms. If you go to my website, platforms are being added all the time. A lot of bookstores. I mean, you can.
Which are the major 2 or 3 platforms?
Pretty much the major 2 or 3. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. I think what's it called? Indie Bookstore or something. Even
There's
in
a
like
lot of
Australia, I've got links for people in Germany that want to
yeah.
buy it in Germany, but it's still
Mhm.
the English
So
version.
everything can
So
be
quite
everything can be, what we say, can be done from your website, I guess. Like
everything can.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
yeah.
ebook, hardcover, softcover, and audiobook is
Okay,
available.
awesome, awesome.
So
So yeah, so one single thing is you can get it on your favorite publication or favorite website, but you just got to visit author's website. There are all different like Amazon, Amazon
a
XYZ,
whole bunch of different links.
yeah, whole
Yes.
bunch of things. You can find it. So make sure you go and check out this, and the links are in description. Thank you so much, author, for being on the show again. I keep on saying
Thank you
thank you
very
a
much
lot.
for having me. It was a
Great.
pleasure. It really was.
Great.
Thank you.
I love to have whenever you want me, when you want to do this interview thing for your upcoming books, I'd be happy to do that for you. So
Oh,
just message
great.
me, and I'll be
Okay, thank you. It's a deal.
ready with, yeah. I'll be coming up with some questions, something, and we can do it about an hour kind of thing. So yeah, thank you for listening. Make sure you go check out the description, check out your favorite stories. I'm linking all the stories in the description. You can download them, listen as per your convenience. I'm Ajay Tambe. You will listen to Create Your Ears podcast. Make sure you go and listen, check the story. Now I'm signing off.